is a star fort? Well, you can find them on Wikipedia listed as Bastion Forts. So that's the term that the mainstream uses for them. They're a style of fort that was, quote unquote, very popular between, like, what would you say, like the 1500s through the Civil War, essentially.
Yeah, there's a 300-year stretch where they were purported to be defensible military structures and redoubts, also walls, and also additions to things like port cities for security. However, the method and date of their construction can be differentiated between 3 or 4 stages and styles, such as the one built on the New York-Canada border, that right there. Always a redoubt for a port. You can tell by its very shape. We've got a ton of those.
And you're like, well, these are all just, military defensive purposes. And I will say this, they are.
They're just bastion
and they were.
forts. Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, like, there are things that exist that you can use for various purposes. It's a tool, right? So you could look at these star forts as a tool and say, I've got, this structure here, and it's very good for defending against cannon fire, and you can set troops up on either side so you can shoot at the flanks when they're charging. All those things are technically correct. I just don't think that was the initial purpose of them. And there's a lot of reasons I don't think that was the original purpose of them, but they've been repurposed to suit the needs of battles. Yeah. So, and they're all over the world. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with Victor Schauberger.
Yep.
So, he has a lot of really interesting takes on water and how it works and the vortex energy and how you can change the nature of water by manipulating it.
The entire Netherlands has, I would say, more tunnels above it than more tunnels below it than roads above it. On an order of magnitude, I would say 3 to 5 times more. We're talking 300, 400 feet below the surface.
Isn't it at sea level though already? Like, isn't it almost flooding all the time? So how is that? Just between the water, you mean? There's enough like
from the water.
There's enough
completely. There are
blocked
famous cathedrals and churches. Let me see if I can find something to share.
And Darren, you found that northern thing, didn't you? You found that northern.
I found one in Churchill, Manitoba.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Probably to defend from polar bears.
This is a photo of a diagram of, as you can see, it's not just a star fort, it's a star city, because you've got these castles here in the background defended by this wall, and you've got the moat here, and then you've got all of this infrastructure underneath for channeling the water.
Which is bringing it through the city for bathhouses and all that sort of stuff.
Whatever.
Irrigation.
Yeah. Exactly. You can do anything you want with this. And then, like I said, if you have this system of tunnels and you understand how geometry works and you understand the nature of water, you know what temperature it needs to be at, you know what state it needs to be in. If it's vortexed, you have also the ability to generate energy. That was the big thing that Schauberger did, is that he used that vortex, the natural vortexes that water gets just by flowing, to harness energy. He created an engine out of it. As you can see, extremely geometric, very fractal. And most likely, my guess is that Versailles, in these areas have water in tunnels running underneath. You can see there's pools of water here. They had to get them here somehow. And you have this, this era was defined by its gardens. You can go find shows on Netflix about, ancient, this period of times, their Victorian gardens, tour of Victorian gardens. And it's wild, the amount of and it looks like a computer chip. I'm just going to say it. And in the Himalayas, they have star towers. I'll share my screen
How
here.
tall?
Pretty fucking tall. So these are the Himalayan towers. They are pretty massive, a couple 100 feet high, I'd say.
Wow, that's interesting.
And they're all over the landscape. And they don't know why they built them. So in theory, if you could tune into the frequencies of the world, of the planet, of various different things, you could get these towers to, resonate with them. I mean, again, it's a tool. So we don't know necessarily what they were doing with it. I mean, what do you think we could do with that kind of thing? I mean, you could control the weather. You could power things.
You could save your own life. Now when I took my first look at these, I'd been studying weather vanes in America in the 17 and 1800s. And it seems like most houses, most properties had weather vanes because a more electrified Earth atmosphere at the time meant more common lightning strikes. And as an easier method of electricity to ground, you would put up a weather vane or a lightning rod. And these towers, these star towers, these dipoles, these weather vanes, lightning rods are just an easier way to go to ground. Now, this says nothing about the harnessing of that energy should it be stored, only that this is the same principle by which all of these structures work.
These are various sound waves going through an oscillator, compared to, and the images that you can get them to create when you tune into certain frequencies. And then there's a Starfort next to it.
Even Angkor Wat has these things called Shiva Lingams inside of it, which work as dipoles. They have a definitive temperature difference and an obvious orgone cloudbuster characteristic to them.
Wow.
All over.
This is not a small structure.
It looks like an electrical substation, really.
These star cities are insane. They are the entire city. And almost none of this infrastructure still exists. This is Dresden.
Wow.
There is no more Dresden. I mean, there is, but Dresden was completely annihilated in World War II.
Yeah, you wonder. And look at that. Was that a plan of Dresden prior to that?
Oh yeah, this was back probably. This is 1800.
Wow.
So
look at that.
this, even up until 200 years ago, this is what Dresden looked like, and none of this stuff is still here today. And here's Frankfurt, and you can see the kind of it's on both sides of the river. You have the classic fort lines coming across, and you have the water. I mean, who knows how many channels are going underneath the city.
Frankfurt too, eh? That was Frankfurt. Frankfurt was Frankfurt, or
yes, yeah.
Wow.
Frankfurt,
and that was
Germany.
Destroyed massively too. I mean, that looks like a completely modern city now.
There's Strasbourg in Germany as well. And then you can even see, you have this river running through, and you have them all coming out like channels, like a circuit diagram. So Antiquitech would be things like Starforts, Star Towers, anything that is, ancient possible technology that we don't quite understand yet falls under this Antiquitech banner.
Oh, there's a really good one, waveguide structures. Yeah, so sonoluminescence is quite unique because we can't figure out how to scale it up.
But
we
once
can
you
make
get
a
to
star in a jar.
Once you get to a certain frequency, it turns into light, right?
Yeah.
So
you can sustain this light, but we can't scale it up. We can make a tiny little light bubble, but we can't make the light more diffuse inside the bubble. We can't make a giant light in a giant bubble.
Wow.
But there's an old rumor about the underground tunnels of Harlem being lit with sound.
They were worldwide. They were global. I mean, we've called them many things throughout the past, call them Phoenicians, potentially. The Celts, the Vikings possibly were connected to these people. We don't know. So that's the ongoing thing I'm trying to come up with. And so obviously I'm over at stolenhistory.net. We do have a whole section on Starforts in that forum, if you want to check that out. I think also between now and then we have a YouTube channel now, Stolen History, and we've been producing some documentaries on there. I know Armouro's did a couple of podcasts on there that have been posted of some kind of wrap up stuff we've done on various posts on the